Have you ever had one of those days where absolutely nothing you plan seems to go right? Well, for us, after 48 hours of travelling, the inevitable happened.
This morning we left San Jose en route to Gulf Ito. However, the pilots decided, due to bad weather, that our plane couldn't land and instead brought us 20 kilometres to the town of Rio Claro. Now, Rio Claro is not a very big place. There is one road connecting here to the Gulf of Ito, and that one road is now blocked with a mudslide.
Okay, we're stranded here with hundreds of other people who really don't have a clue what they should be doing, just like me. Some are listening to football games, some are standing around discussing tactics, and others, I think, are happy for the change in plans. After a few hours, the road opened up before us again, as we all made our way safely past the mudslide zone. And soon enough, we were on our way to our planned destination. Here's a real mix of some of my marine encounters that I personally find memorable. I'll be zapping to the Caribbean and some rowdy whales, then shooting straight to South Australia on the hunt for the great white shark. Then it's super close up with magnificent sperm whales. But right now, an island and diving paradise with more hammerheads than a hardware store.
The ship on which we're travelling is the Sea Hunter, a 110-foot vessel dedicated to carrying scuba divers to far off the beaten track. 300 miles and 36 hours of travelling is what lies between us and our destination, Cocos Island.
24 square kilometres in size, this beautiful typical tropical island is set in the clear waters of the Indian Ocean. Once a haven for the scourge of the seas, an abundance of fresh water and its remoteness lured pirates and their stolen treasure.
Many years ago, Cocos Island had a far more sinister feel. In the 18th and 19th century, it was a haven for pirates. Its far-out location and supply of fresh water was like a magnet, and millions of dollars of stolen gold and jewels are said to be buried on these very shores.
Here, Manuelita Island seabirds take refuge in every nook and cranny, nesting among the vertical drops. As I look at these desperate shorelines, I get that ominous thrill of adventures to come. Looking at these steep cliffs with their cascading waterfalls and the jungle-covered mountains disappearing into the clouds, I can well imagine I'm on the SS Venture approaching Skull Island in the hope of glimpsing a mighty gorilla named Kong. Now that would be a treasure.
Whereas adventurers in the past may have come in search of the treasures on the land, today's adventurers come in search of the treasures beneath the waves. Cocos Island is truly one of the last wild frontiers, and the beauty about it is you never really know what you're going to see next. See ya, I'm going in the pool.
Don't keep from the diving board.
Wow, instant payoff. Diving in Cocos may not offer the colourful reefs of the tropics or the abundance of reef fish many of us are used to, but what it lacks in small life, it makes up for in pelagic action. White tips are unusual for sharks, as they can rest on the bottom and pump water through their gills. If you're quiet, you can usually get quite close to these small, harmless fellas. Bait balls are also common at Cocos. With such a concentration of life, massive schools of fish gather. These schools attract bigger fish, and sometimes this moves right up the food chain. But not all the giants are dangerous to us. The beautiful Mantaray is one of the most graceful of the ocean biggies. When we found a couple in the middle of the ocean, it was time for me to once again get close to a UFO, an unbelievably beautiful flying object. But among other life forms famous at Cocos are the giant bull rays, who can reach massive sizes, dwarfing a diver. Pacific green turtles can be very curious too, and this guy had to check me out. Lobster are also found here, and lucky for them, unlucky for me, it's a national park, and you can feast only with your eyes. Returning topside with the rest of the crew, a sense of fun and wonder sparked off some hijinks. But now it was let's get serious, Mum. We were here to see the masses of white tips, silky sharks and black tip sharks. And occasionally we'll have Galapagos or other sharks that visit here. But it's the schooling hammerheads, which are here in great numbers, that are the order of the day. Encounters can happen at any time, and we were lucky enough for it to be right now. One of the best dive sites for hammerheads is Alcyone. This is a deep pinnacle starting at 28 metres and plummeting below. For hammerheads, it offers a chance to be cleaned by hundreds of king angelfish and appropriately named barberfish. After the break on Roar of the Wild, frisky young male whales and a shark rodeo. The Silverbank is one of the main calving grounds for the North Atlantic hump whale, with a few thousand whales migrating there each year. It's located in the Dominican Republic of West Indies Islands in the Caribbean Sea. Male humpback whales, when breeding, become what is known as a rowdy group. They become boisterous and combative, caused by the presence of a sexually mature female whale. It was hard keeping up in the water churned by the playful and, shall we say, eager young boys. The males compete against each other, with the most dominant whale usually mating with the female. However, the best way to see whales underwater is to swim with them. Humpbacks are extremely graceful in the water. Their huge bodies move like aeroplanes. Sadly, the whale's worst enemy is humans. We ran into one whale that had been trapped by a net. Although this whale managed to escape it, the remains of the net is slowly killing the whale. One of the guys took a closer look, but this is the most dangerous place to be. One flick of that towel can be disastrous for the diver. But it was clear this whale can't use the back part of its body. It's become very thin as the blood flow to the towel is restricted. Here it's common to find mothers with calves. A young calf has to breathe about every 4 minutes. While resting, they often sit beneath their mother. When they have to breathe, they come up, move in a circle above their mum, and head back down to her side. The ocean has also become a very noisy place, and whales that navigate by using sonar can be affected badly. Today's ships cause huge noise pollution. Seismic testing can shatter whales' hearing, and of course some people still hunt whales today for what they call science. But we know this is really for meat. But many, many more whales than we realise are killed or badly injured by boats and ships. To bring home this point all too plainly, I'd like to share with you a heartbreaking experience from my own backyard.
I am here at Jupiter Island, Florida. Behind me, a pygmy sperm whale has stranded. At the moment, they are keeping her alive by putting wet towels on her and keeping her wet.
Barbara Bryan from the Oceanographic Research Institute was on the spot and directing the rescue efforts.
It's a female, full grown. It's been hit by a boat. It has a large gash across its forehead, which is caused by a prop and is probably interfering with her sonar, which is why she would come ashore. Dolphins and whales send sounds out through their forehead, and with this gash, she's unable to send out sounds that would help her determine where she is and what's happening around her.
Sadly, 90% of the animals that come ashore will die, but this one has a very good chance of survival. It's not a sick animal. It's suffered a trauma, yes, but it's basically healthy, and these animals have the ability to heal very quickly. There is such a spirit of wanting to help in any way from everyone here. I don't completely know why whales touch us so deeply on so many levels. If only we could heal with good intentions and wishes alone.
Right now, transporting it down to Miami, where we'll get to the seaquarium, where the vets there will evaluate it to see how stable it is.
Lashing down to the Bahamas, it's now time to get a smile on my face again. And with the teeth I'm about to encounter, I can expect a big toothy grin back. Walker's Cay is a small island in the Bahamas. It's no more than a couple of square miles. Just a small piece of paradise surrounded by a beautiful blue ocean. I've come here for one reason, the main attraction. It's a shark rodeo. The secret to this successful rodeo is the big lollipop that's prepared for the sharks. Frozen fish on a stick. Yummy! With its shallow Bahamas-style reefs and of course some friendly gropers, the stage is set for some on-the-edge action. The fish populating these reefs are big, friendly and very approachable. But the main highlight was the sharks. And sharks there were. Up to 100 of the marvellous munchies surrounding me. It was fantastic. The majority here was what are referred to as the grey reef shark, although there were a couple of nurse sharks lurking among the crowd. As the chumpsicle thaws out, the sharks get a little excited, and then in no time, it's gone. Next up, I go great white hunting with Ron and Valerie Taylor. I've shown how good swimming amongst the sharks can be, but it's often not as simple as just go there, jump in and voila, it's Shark Park. South Australia is an excellent option for cage diving in search of great white sharks. The region is so populated by sharks, in fact, this is where some of the most intense live-action shark shots for Jaws were filmed. So with so many sharks in the water, we would definitely see one, right? But first, I have a confession to make. I've never seen a great white face to face, which is a good thing, because what I'm attempting to do here is to go face to cage. Then I can live to tell the tale. At Neptune Islands off South Australia, you will see an array of wildlife, including many bird species, dolphins, thousands of fur seals, and the beautiful and rare Australian sea lion.
We've just arrived at North Neptune Island where we're going to start burling for great white sharks. There's still a little bit of wind and swell around, but we're going to try our luck anyway.
I didn't realise these may have been famous last words, but I had a good feeling as Ron and Valerie Taylor were also on board. That's got to be lucky, right?
The early shift involves mixing this soup around and making sure that some of the big chunky bits actually go outside this little hole, which we'll show to you later. This burley then goes into the water, floats, making a slick along with some oil that Ian puts on it, and hopefully attracts the legendary great white shark.
With the taste only a sharky could love. Ron Taylor with Valerie Taylor, here showing her artistic versatility, are Australian diving royalty, who pioneered many underwater filming and working with shark techniques. Their dynamic footage was used in Jaws, Orca, and the Blue Lagoon, to name just a few classic films. So while we wait, Val paints, and Ron keeps an eye on the video screen from the underwater camera. These great whites haven't got a chance. But we all know good things come to those who wait. So some read and read. Some contemplate their dreams.
Maybe that's my chance in my life to see the red shark. I don't try to catch fish. Actually, I try to see some sharks because I have my own burley now here. I have a big fish, and maybe in a few hours, on my side of this boat, a big shark.
The sharks.
But mostly, we all wait. There's burley to be added to. Gotta keep that tasty trout going.
It's the fish that John West can reject.
Okay, I've read my book and learned how to make some great burley. Better hurry up and wait some more. I know. I'll say something to the camera.
No, I never really have seen a white shark. It's about my first time that I'm ever going to see one, so it's pretty exciting.
Things are starting to look better though.
We've got a constant burley stream. We've got some sharks hanging around the burley slick, so it's all coming together now. So now all we've got to do is wait for Whitey to come along.
Oh, waiting for sharks. Where are they? Very elusive today. That's the name of the game. Great white sharks have got to have a lot of patience.
Well, I'm getting in the shark cage. I figure they might be waiting for something alive and wiggling. But eventually, it's just bronze whalers chomping on the bait. You'd think that would be enough, but not when you know there are great whites lurking out there. But I still haven't seen one, and what I did see doesn't exactly make up for it.
I saw a seahorse that was this big.
These temperate waters and oceanic rocky islands are also perfect for seals and sea lions. I needed my fix of nature, so although the winds were high, I opted for some terra firma beneath my feet. Sea lions and fur seals are similar, and they're in a family known as eared seals. The Australian sea lion is found living along parts of the western and southern coastline. Large sharks and killer whales are now the main predators of seals. But after our search for great whites, they're safe for today at least. Meanwhile, the guys back on board are still keeping an eye out for the great white shark. After the break, sperm whales in Portugal. Portugal is a beautiful country, one of the oldest nations in Europe. It's famous for its fine wines and exquisite architecture. The archipelago of the Azores is composed of 9 volcanic islands situated in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. We're at Pico Island in the Portugal Azores, about 1,000 miles west of Lisbon. This quaint deep-sea fishing village has a lot of character. In the delightful town of Lajes, there is an incredible whale museum displaying the history of how whales were once hunted. It displays intricate carvings on the teeth of sperm whales called scrimshaw, done by sailors of the day as a form of relaxation and history keeping. In the 18th century, they used vigias or lookouts to spot the whales. Today there are still vigias, but they guide boats of people who come to shoot the whale, cameras only. While we were literally cooling our heels for the large whales, the smallest of the toothed whales, the dolphins, came in for a visit. The common dolphin is often seen here at Pico and is graceful to watch as they sit on your bow. Here in the town of Lajes, many of the locals catch their own fish. Some are particularly skilled at spearfishing. Not a bad catch there. While we were in Pico, we were alerted to a sperm whale carcass which had been found on the other side of Pico. We went to investigate with leading sperm whale scientist Malcolm Clark. Malcolm has been studying the sperm whale for nearly 50 years and was the first scientist to study the diets of sperm whale and discover they mainly feed on giant squid.
What we have here is part of the skull of a sperm whale that has been floating at sea for a few days.
Malcolm happily sifted through the stomach contents, while I stood gagging at the rotten stench of decomposing sperm whale. Malcolm also took a sample of the spermaceti found in the head of the sperm whale. Spermaceti is a waxy liquid, and in the early days, whalers thought this liquid was sperm, and that is how the sperm whale got its name. Back to the water, and I needed to get into it. As luck would have it, I spotted a rare find. It's a sunfish. These guys can weigh up to 2 tons and mainly feed on jellyfish and the occasional crustacean. 5 different species of sunfish can be found in the Azores. Back in the boat, we spent some more time waiting. Ron and Valerie Taylor were along on this trip too.
It's such a big ocean.
Does this remind you of something, Ron?
Oh, I've done a lot of waiting in my time.
But does it remind you of our last trip with the GreatWhites?
Yeah, great white sharks. Even whale sharks. Sometimes we've waited for hours for whale sharks to come.
But this time, our patience was rewarded. Ron and I hit the water, and the results were breathtaking. The sperm whale is the largest of the toothed whales. Males grow up to 20 metres long and can weigh up to 45 tonnes. That's a lot of animal, but they are so graceful, friendly, just outstanding. They have the largest head and brain of any animal known to man. Remember Melville's Moby Dick? He was a sperm whale. They feed at depths of 1,000 metres. When they're in feeding mode, they will sound or dive, remaining at depth for 50 to 55 minutes to hunt their prey.
That was superb. Yeah? Yep.
At one time, there was estimated to be 2 million sperm whales on the planet. Present estimates show there may be a minimum of 300,000 left today. Sperm whales are quite different to other species of whales and are found in oceans all over the world. To try and understand how anyone would want to ever revert to whaling, and how some people still do, is beyond my comprehension. We are only beginning to understand the level of intelligence and high social structure of whales. The moments I or anyone else are allowed to be close to these whales are precious and take full trust from the animal. We should search for peace. Perhaps then we would realise that we're the ones who could use some lessons from our wonderful animal friends.